Most people spend years waiting for life to change, yet they repeat the same routines every single day. The truth, nothing changes until you change your habits. If you've been stuck, unmotivated, or feeling like you're not living at your highest potential, this message is for you. Because in the next 30 days, if you commit to just 5 habits, you can literally transform your life. You know what separates the people who live life on fire with passion and energy from those who drag themselves through the day exhausted, uninspired, and overwhelmed? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's not even resources, it's rituals. It's what you do every single day, especially how you start your morning. Because the way you begin your day will shape the way you live your entire day, and the way you live your days becomes your destiny. Most people wake up reacting. They grab their phone, check emails, scroll through social media, and within minutes, their nervous system is hijacked. They're already in a state of stress, already in a state of comparison, already feeling like they're behind. And then they wonder why they don't have energy, why they don't feel motivated, why they don't feel in control of their life. If that's how you've been living, I want you to understand this. You don't need to live like that anymore. What I'm about to share with you is a simple, powerful shift that can literally rewire your body, your mind, and your emotions in less than 30 minutes every morning. I call it a power ritual. This is not just about meditation or exercise or gratitude. It's about creating a state, a peak state, where your body, your mind, and your spirit align. Because when you control your state, you control your decisions. And when you control your decisions, you control your destiny. So let me ask you, how do you wake up right now? Do you hit snooze once, twice, maybe 3 times, convincing yourself you'll get out of bed in just 5 more minutes? Do you roll over, grab your phone, and flood your mind with everybody else's agenda before you even decide your own? Or do you wake up with intention, with energy, with a fire inside of you? Because if you want transformation in your life, it begins with mastering your morning. Here's the truth. You don't get the life you want by accident. You design it. And you design it through habits, through rituals. The greatest athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most fulfilled human beings on this planet, they don't leave their mornings to chance. They prime their minds, they activate their bodies. They ignite their spirit before the world even wakes up. Now imagine this. Imagine waking up and instead of feeling groggy and sluggish, you stand tall, you take a deep breath, you put your shoulders back and you feel alive. You move your body, you flood it with oxygen, you remind yourself of everything you're grateful for, and you focus your mind on what you want to create today. Can you feel the difference? That's not some fantasy. That's what's possible when you commit to a morning power ritual. Let's break this down. First, physiology. Your body is the fastest way to change your emotions. If you wake up and you move your body, whether that's doing push-ups, jumping jacks, yoga, or just shaking out your arms and legs, you send a message to your brain that says, I am alive, I am ready, I am powerful. If you've ever seen me live, you know I use movement constantly. Why? Because emotion is created by motion. If you're slouched over, shallow breathing, eyes half open, your brain associates that with being tired. But when you expand your chest, take deep, strong breaths, and put energy into your body, your brain lights up. It says, we're awake, let's go. Second, focus. Most people let their focus get hijacked by the world. They start their day in reaction. But leaders, people who transform their lives, decide what to focus on. They ask, what am I grateful for today? What am I excited about today? What am I committed to making happen today? Gratitude is powerful because it rewires your brain out of fear and scarcity and into appreciation and abundance. When you feel gratitude, fear disappears. Anxiety melts away. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. It's impossible. Gratitude becomes the antidote to stress, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. And third, vision. You must see where you're going. Every morning, take just a few minutes to visualize your life the way you want it. See yourself succeeding. See yourself taking bold action. See yourself having the conversations you've been putting off, crushing the workout you've been avoiding, and showing up with confidence, love, and power. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something vividly imagined and something experienced. So when you rehearse success in your mind every morning, you're literally programming your nervous system to expect it to act on it to create it. That's why the morning is sacred. It's your time. Before the world gets noisy, before people start pulling on your attention, before emails and texts and deadlines flood your mind, it's your chance to design your state, to own your day before it owns you. Because here's the truth. If you don't have a plan for your day will have a plan for you. And usually, that plan is stress, distraction, and mediocrity. I've worked with people at the highest level, Athletes, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, they don't rely on motivation, they rely on rituals. Because motivation comes and goes, but rituals create momentum. If you wake up every morning and do something that makes you stronger, something that makes you grateful, something that makes you focused, you're not waiting for the world to inspire you. You've already ignited your own fire. Think about it like this. If a pilot sets off on a flight and they're even 1 degree off course, by the time they've flown for a few hours, they'll end up hundreds of miles away from their destination. The same is true with your morning. If you start off aligned with energy, gratitude, and focus, your entire day shifts. But if you start off in chaos, distraction, and stress, that compounds too. The question is, which direction do you want to compound? This is why I tell people, you don't need to change everything overnight. You don't need to run a marathon tomorrow or meditate for an hour or write a novel before breakfast. Start small, but be consistent. Do 5 minutes of movement, 3 minutes of gratitude, and 2 minutes of focus. That's 10 minutes. 10 minutes that can shift your state and your destiny. And if you give yourself that gift for 30 days, you'll look back and realize you're not the same person anymore. You'll have more energy, more clarity, more drive. You'll stop reacting and start creating. Because here's what you must understand. Your morning ritual is not just about your morning. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about reminding yourself that you are in charge of your energy, your focus, your destiny. It's about proving to yourself every single day that you can follow through, that you can create momentum, that you can live with intention. And when you string those mornings together, 1 day, then a week, then 30 days, you create a new identity. You start to see yourself differently. You stop being the person who hits snooze and scrolls aimlessly, and you become the person who wakes up with purpose, with fire, with passion. And that shift in identity, that shift in who you believe you are, that's what transforms your life. Your life will never exceed the quality of the thoughts you consistently allow to dominate your mind. Think about that for a second. Most people want to transform their life, but they're feeding their brain nothing but junk, and then they wonder why they feel anxious, why they feel lost, why they feel stuck. You don't get strong by eating processed food every day, and you don't get mentally powerful by consuming negativity day after day. If you want to change your life in the next 30 days, one of the most powerful habits you must build is feeding your mind with the right fuel every single day. And now let me ask you, what are you putting into your mind on a daily basis? Whether you realize it or not, you're feeding your mind all the time. Every scroll through social media, every news headline you read, every conversation you allow yourself to engage in, it's all input, and your brain is a sponge. If you constantly feed it fear, drama, gossip, and comparison, what do you think you're going to feel? Fearful, insecure, doubtful. But if you feed it with ideas that empower you, with stories of resilience, with strategies for success, with teachings from people who have walked the path before you, then your brain starts to operate on a completely different frequency. You've heard the phrase, you are what you eat. That's true for your body. But I want you to understand, you are what you consume mentally. If you consume negative, disempowering content, you'll live a negative, disempowering life. If you consume positive, empowering content, you'll condition yourself to see opportunity where others only see obstacles. It's not magic, it's focus. It's conditioning. It's wiring your nervous system to respond differently. And here's what's crazy. Most people are so careful about what they put into their body, but they're reckless with what they put into their mind. They'll spend hours scrolling through a feed full of complaints and chaos, but ask them to read 10 minutes of a book that could expand their thinking, and they'll say, I don't have time. Let me tell you something. You do have time. You just have to make it a priority, because if you don't feed your mind daily, the world will feed it for you. And what the world feeds you is fear, scarcity, and distraction. Imagine this. Every single day, you have two choices. You can turn on the news and be reminded of everything that's wrong, everything that's broken, everything that's dangerous. Or you can turn on an audio book, a podcast, a seminar that teaches you how to break through, how to grow, how to become stronger. One keeps you in fear. The other fuels your future. Which one do you think will change your life in 30 days? I've spent my entire life obsessed with growth, obsessed with feeding my mind. When I was young, I didn't have money, I didn't have connections, I didn't have resources, but I had a library card. I read hundreds of books. I devoured psychology, physiology, and philosophy. I went to seminars, sometimes working odd jobs just so I could afford the ticket. Why? Because I knew that if I could change my mind, I could change my life. Information became my advantage. Feeding my mind gave me tools, strategies, and distinctions that allowed me to help people at the highest level. And the same can happen for you, but you've got to make it a ritual. Here's the thing, your brain is like a garden. If you don't intentionally plant seeds of growth, weeds of negativity will grow by default. And those weeds don't need permission. They'll creep in from everywhere: social media, gossip, negative people, limiting beliefs. If you want a thriving garden, you've got to water it daily with empowering ideas, with inspiration, with strategies that push you forward. And the more you do that, the more resilient, creative, and unstoppable you become. Now let's get practical. Feeding your mind doesn't mean you have to spend hours studying every day. It can be as simple as listening to 20 minutes of an audiobook while you're driving. It can be watching a video from someone who's mastered the area of life you want to improve. It can be reading just 10 pages of a book before bed. What matters is consistency, because just like you don't get fit by going to the gym once, you don't transform your mind by feeding it once. It's the daily habit that rewires you. Think about it like this. If you took just 30 days and committed to replacing 30 minutes of social media with 30 minutes of growth every single day, where would you be? How much more confidence would you have? How much more clarity? How many ideas could you act on? That's the difference between staying stuck and leaping forward, and it's in your control. But let me be real with you. It's not just about consuming positive information. It's also about cutting out the negative. Some of you right now are addicted to drama. You say you want peace, you say you want clarity, but you keep feeding your mind arguments online, news that makes you anxious, conversations that drain your energy. If you're serious about transforming your life, you've got to go on a mental diet. Just like you would cut out sugar or junk food to transform your body, you've got to cut out mental junk food if you want to transform your mind. And when you do that, when you cut the negative and flood yourself with the positive, you start to notice something. You start to notice your thoughts shifting. You start to notice your emotions changing. Instead of waking up and feeling stressed, you start waking up with ideas, with solutions, with a drive to move forward. And instead of reacting to the world, you start creating from within yourself. That's what happens when you feed your mind with intention. Think about the people you admire most. Whether it's an athlete, an entrepreneur, an artist, a leader, they didn't get there by chance. They fed their minds every day. They studied, they learned, they sought mentors, they consumed knowledge relentlessly. And because of that, they built a different perspective. They saw possibilities where others saw dead ends. They created opportunities where others saw none. You can do the same, but you've got to start with this habit. One of the greatest gifts of feeding your mind is that it changes your identity. When you learn daily, when you grow daily, you start to see yourself as someone who is capable of more, worthy of more, destined for more. You stop identifying with your limitations, and you start identifying with your potential. And once your identity shifts, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, your life shifts. So I want you to really think about this. For the next 30 days, what are you going to feed your mind? Are you going to keep feeding it negativity, distractions, and noise? Or are you going to feed it wisdom, empowerment, and clarity? Because whatever you feed consistently is what grows. And if you want to grow, if you want to transform, you must take control of the inputs. You must guard your mind like it's the most valuable asset you own. Because it is. You can feed your body with energy. You can feed your mind with wisdom. You can fill your spirit with gratitude. But none of it matters if you don't take action. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality. Action is the cure to fear. Action is the force that transforms potential into power. And yet most people spend their lives waiting. Waiting for the perfect time, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting until they feel ready. Let me tell you something, you will never feel ready. Readiness is a myth. The people who create extraordinary lives don't wait until they're ready. They act boldly, and that boldness is what creates the life they desire. How many times have you had an idea, something that lit you up inside, something you knew could make your life better, but you didn't act? Maybe you wanted to start a business, maybe you wanted to change careers, maybe you wanted to finally have that conversation, ask that person out, take that risk, and what happened? You talked yourself out of it. You told yourself it wasn't the right time, you didn't have enough resources, you didn't have enough experience. And so the idea faded, the dream faded, that fire inside dimmed, and then one day you look back and realize that moment is gone. We all have these moments. But here's the truth. If you keep letting fear and hesitation dictate your choices, your life will always stay the same. Bold action is the antidote. Bold action is the pattern interrupt. It's the decision that says, I refuse to stay stuck. I refuse to let my circumstances control me. I'm gonna move, I'm gonna act. I'm gonna step into my power. When I work with people, whether they're billionaires, athletes, or everyday individuals, The one thing that separates those who succeed from those who don't is action, not knowledge, not intention, action. Because knowledge without action is useless. Inspiration without action is wasted. You don't get stronger by reading about lifting weights. You get stronger by lifting weights. You don't build confidence by thinking about making the call. You build confidence by picking up the phone and dialing the number. So why don't people act? Why do so many people hold themselves back? It's fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of looking stupid, fear of making a mistake. But let me tell you something about fear. It doesn't go away by thinking. It doesn't go away by waiting. It only goes away by doing. The moment you take action, the fear starts to lose its grip. The moment you move forward, the uncertainty starts to turn into clarity. The moment you step in, the fear turns into fuel. And here's the thing, bold action doesn't always mean something massive. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job today or invest every dollar you have into an idea tomorrow. Bold action means consistent, courageous steps in the direction of your vision. It means breaking the pattern of hesitation and choosing to move forward when everything in you wants to play it safe. Because safety doesn't create transformation. Growth lives outside of your comfort zone. Imagine for a moment that you committed to taking just one bold action every single day for the next 30 days. Maybe it's making that phone call. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when you'd normally stay silent. Maybe it's waking up an hour earlier to work on your passion project. Maybe it's finally saying no to something that drains you so you can say yes to something that fulfills you. What would your life look like at the end of those 30 days? Do you realize how much momentum you would build? Do you realize how much confidence you would create? Because confidence doesn't come from thinking, confidence comes from doing. I remember early in my journey, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have money, I didn't have connections, but I had drive. I had a hunger to learn, to grow, to impact. And I knew that if I kept waiting for the perfect circumstances, I'd be waiting forever. So I acted, I knocked on doors, I made phone calls, I showed up to seminars, even when I had to borrow money just to attend. And every action I took created momentum. Every step forward built my belief. Every decision to act boldly instead of hesitating created the life I live today. Think about it. Every great achievement in history came from someone who decided to act. Not someone who was the smartest in the room, not someone who had all the resources, but someone who said, no, I'm gonna do something. Boldness has power in it. When you act boldly, you send a message to yourself and to the world that you are serious in, that you are committed, that you will not be stopped. But here's what most people don't realize: bold action is not just about results, it's about identity. Every time you act boldly, you reinforce the identity of someone who is courageous, someone who is decisive, someone who follows through. And the more you reinforce that identity, the more natural it becomes. Taking action stops being a struggle and starts being who you are. That's how you transform your life, not by making one massive leap, but by consistently proving to yourself through bold action that you are unstoppable. Now let's be honest, bold action doesn't guarantee instant success. You will fail, you will make mistakes, you will stumble. But failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the stepping stone to success. Every failure teaches you something, strengthens you, refines you. The only true failure is not acting at all. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. Which one are you willing to live with? Every day, life is giving you opportunities to grow, to expand, to step into your power. The question is, are you seizing them or are you letting them pass by? And because opportunities don't last forever, the door won't stay open forever. At some point you have to decide, are you going to keep waiting, keep hesitating, keep playing small, or are you going to step up, take bold action, and create the life you were born for? If you want to transform your life in 30 days, you can't just think differently. You can't just feel inspired. You must act differently, every day, consistently, boldly. Because bold action is the habit that transforms knowledge into results, vision into reality, and potential into power. Most people live their lives rushing from one thing to the next, never stopping to ask the questions that actually create growth. They go from one task, one responsibility, one distraction to another, and before they know it, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and they wonder why nothing has really changed. But the truth is, transformation doesn't only happen in the doing, it happens in the reflection. It happens when you pause long enough to look back to ask, what did I learn today? What did I do well? What can I do better tomorrow? Without reflection, life just passes you by. With reflection, life becomes your teacher. Think about it. Every single day gives you lessons. Every conversation, every success, every failure is giving you feedback. But if you don't take the time to notice it, you miss it. And when you miss the lesson, you repeat the mistake. Reflection is about taking ownership of your life. It's about saying, I'm not going to live unconsciously. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. And paired with reflection is something even more powerful, gratitude. And gratitude is the emotional state that transforms how you experience life. Gratitude rewires your brain to see abundance instead of lack, opportunity instead of limitation, joy instead of stress. When you live in gratitude, you stop waiting for the future to give you happiness, and you start finding it in the present moment. That's why gratitude is not just a nice idea. It's a discipline, a habit, a practice that can transform your life from the inside out. But let's talk about why reflection and gratitude are so powerful together. Reflection gives you perspective. Gratitude gives you presence. Reflection helps you learn from the past. Gratitude helps you appreciate the present. Reflection makes you wiser. Gratitude makes you richer in spirit. Together, they create a state of mind where growth and fulfillment coexist. And when you make that a daily habit, you stop being controlled by your circumstances and you start creating meaning no matter what's happening around you. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you really reflected on your day? Not just thought about what went wrong, not just complained about what was stressful, but intentionally sat down and asked yourself, what did I learn today? What am I proud of today? What could I improve tomorrow? Most people never do this. And because they never do, they stay stuck in the same patterns. They repeat the same arguments in their relationships. They make the same mistakes in their finances. They keep falling into the same habits with their health. Why? Because they never take the time to pause and reflect. Imagine if every night before bed, you took just 5 minutes to reflect on your day. You wrote down 3 things you did well, 3 things you learned, and 1 thing you're going to do differently tomorrow. Can you see how powerful that would be over time? In 30 days, you wouldn't just have random experiences. You'd have 30 lessons, 30 improvements, 30 new insights that compound into growth. That's the power of reflection. It turns your life into a classroom, and every day becomes a chance to get better. And then gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus. When you practice gratitude daily, you stop obsessing over what's missing, and you start noticing what's already here. And you stop focusing on what's wrong, and you start seeing what's right. Gratitude is not about ignoring challenges. It's about refusing to let challenges blind you to the blessings. Because no matter what's going on in your life, there's always something to be grateful for. The fact that you're breathing, the fact that you have opportunities in front of you, the fact that you're alive right now with the chance to change everything. Do you realize how many people would trade places with you right now? Someone out there would give anything to have the challenges you think are unbearable. Someone would give anything to have the opportunities you have, the resources you have, the freedom you have. Gratitude opens your eyes to that reality. And when you live in gratitude, you live in abundance. And when you live in abundance, you stop holding back. You stop living in fear. You start creating boldly because you know you're already blessed. And one of the reasons gratitude is so powerful is that it changes your emotional state instantly. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. You can't be fearful and grateful at the same time. You can't be stressed and grateful at the same time. Gratitude is the great interrupter of negative emotions. It's the reset button for your nervous system. That's why I tell people to practice gratitude not once in a while, not when something amazing happens, but every single day. Make it a ritual, make it non-negotiable. I want you to picture this. You wake up in the morning and you set your state with movement, focus, and vision. You feed your mind with knowledge that empowers you. You take bold action during your day. And then at night, instead of collapsing into bed exhausted and unconscious, you take a few moments to reflect and give thanks. Can you see how that closes the loop? You're not just living your days randomly. You're designing them. You're learning from them. You're appreciating them. That's how transformation becomes permanent. Because transformation isn't just about achieving goals. It's about who you become in the process, and reflection allows you to track that growth. Gratitude allows you to enjoy that growth. Without reflection, you might achieve a goal but never learn the lessons that keep you growing. Without gratitude, you might achieve a goal but never feel fulfilled when you get there. That's why so many people succeed on the outside but feel empty on the inside. They're chasing without reflecting. They're achieving without appreciating. And that's not success. True success is growth with fulfillment. Reflection gives you growth. Gratitude gives you fulfillment. I'll tell you something else. Reflection is also about honesty. It's about being real with yourself. Not beating yourself up, but telling yourself the truth. Did I live today aligned with my values? Did I show up the way I wanted to? Did I give my best effort? Or did I let fear and distraction control me? When you get honest with yourself daily, You don't let weeks or months go by living in denial. You catch yourself sooner. You course correct faster. And that's what keeps you moving forward instead of drifting backward. And gratitude, it's about perspective. Gratitude reminds you that even in the hardest times, life is giving you gifts. Maybe it's the gift of resilience, the gift of patience, the gift of perspective. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. Ingratitude means choosing to see the perfection in everything, choosing to see that life is happening for you, not to you. And when you adopt that belief, challenges become opportunities, pain becomes growth, and setbacks become setups for comebacks. So here's what I want you to realize. If you commit to reflection and gratitude daily, your entire experience of life will shift. You'll start to notice patterns. You'll start to catch yourself when you're falling into old habits. You'll start to appreciate the little things that make life beautiful. And that combination will fuel you in ways that no external achievement ever could. So here we are, 4 habits, 4 simple, powerful practices that if you commit to them daily, can transform your life in just 30 days. Starting your mornings with rituals that ignite your body, focus your mind, and elevate your spirit. Feeding your mind with the kind of knowledge and input that empowers you instead of drains you. Taking bold, consistent action even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain, because that's how momentum is created. And ending your days with reflection and gratitude, learning from your experiences, appreciating your blessings, and closing the loop with fulfillment. When you put these together, you don't just change your days, you change your identity. You stop being someone who reacts to life, and you become someone who creates life. You stop being a prisoner of old habits, and you become the architect of new ones. And in 30 days, when you look back, you won't just see progress, you'll see a new version of yourself staring back in the mirror. A version that is more alive, more focused, more powerful, and more fulfilled. But remember, change doesn't happen from information. Change doesn't happen from watching a video or reading a book. Change happens from implementation. It happens when you take what you've learned and you live it every single day. No excuses, no waiting, no more someday. The life you want is built in the choices you make today. So ask yourself right now, are you going to let the next 30 days pass you by, living the same patterns, telling yourself the same stories, repeating the same routines? Or are you going to decide right here, right now, that these 30 days will be the beginning of your transformation? Because your life doesn't change when the calendar flips. Your life changes when you do. You've got everything you need already inside you. You have the power, you have the potential, you have the ability to create a life that inspires you, a life that fulfills you, a life that impacts others. But it starts with a decision to commit, a decision to act, a decision to no longer settle for less than the life you were born to live. This is your moment. This is your time. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait another day. Take these habits, commit to them for 30 days, and shock yourself with what's possible. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the story you've been telling yourself. Change the story. Change your habits. Change your life.